The types of altcoins in this video will make crypto millionaires. The money that's coming into the altcoin sector is monstrous. We are in a very special time in history and money hasn't changed in over 100 years. So first off, I want to break down the AI sector and talk about how much money is coming into AI altcoins and just the AI space in general as a whole, right? When we're talking about deep learning and ChatGPT and all these things that everyone around the globe is talking about at the moment, and I want to break this down for you. So the global artificial intelligence market size is valued at over $279 billion in 2024 and is projected to reach $1.8 trillion by 2030. So not to mention that also North America is the largest market in 2024. And then mind you, this is numbers from 2024. This isn't even talking or counting any of the growth we've had in 2025 and potentially out into 2026, right? So understanding that all this money is coming into this new market that hasn't really been a thing for that long. Yes, AI has been used in certain ways in the past, but now there's more of an arms race between country and between different companies to use AI as best they can to elevate their country and their economies, right? And obviously their companies. So another key metric that I like to use is Google Trends, and I put the AI search term up here, and I just want to show you some of the growth over the years. So you can see for a pretty long time, other than this little spike in 2012, the AI narrative has been completely flat, right? Completely flat, like sitting around 2 as far as interest, all the way maybe up to like 6 or 7 or something like that, right? The peak being 13 back in 2012. Look at how much in just the last 3 years, the AI narrative and talk since pretty much ChatGPT came out, that everyone's been focused on AI and the interest over time, right, has went up for AI. And you can see it's over up at 79. The interest for the space is only growing. And this is detailed not only on Google Trends and people trying to learn about what AI is, but it's also the fact that all the money that's going to be coming to the space. And if you're invested in a lot of AI altcoins, you're going to see a lot of money flow into your pocket if you're able to choose the right altcoins. But this is why you subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to just give you the altcoins to invest in. I have one particular for each of these types of altcoins and types of narratives I'm going to talk about in this video. So just follow along and I'm going to make sure that some money ends up in your pocket. Not financial advice, but I'm going to do my best to make sure some money ends up in your pocket. On the stock exchange, you can look here and you can see the top 10 companies that have something relatively to do with AI, right? Not all of these companies are completely AI based, but all of them actually use AI. Over a $19.8 trillion market capitalization when you round up all of the largest AI companies. This isn't all of them. This is just the largest AI companies on the stock exchange. When you go over to something like crypto, you can look at the AI sector. There's only about 32 billion. The arbitrage there for a lot of these AI projects that are in crypto are insurmountable. It's hard to even fathom when you consider that someone like NVIDIA is at a $4.3 trillion market cap. And the entire crypto asset class, let's go back to the homepage, is $4.1 trillion. Like, what are we talking about? The entire market capitalization of crypto as a whole is smaller than one single company. That just tells me that the room to grow is so very vast, and you want to make sure you hop on these trends early, because by the time everybody knows about crypto and altcoins and specifically AI altcoins, it's going to be too late already. And this is kind of why I'm bringing you these types of videos now, so you can be prepared and get your bags before it's too late and before the run up, so you can make some money, put some money in your pocket. Now, one of my favorite AI altcoins, I could probably call it my favorite AI altcoin, I've talked about it before, is ChainGPT. Now, ChainGPT does a whole host of different things. When I open up solutions here, right, they have a Web3 AI chatbot, they have an AI NFT generator, an AI generated news, right? So this keeps you up to date on all the news and everything happening in crypto. Smart contract generator, so you can launch stuff on chain via these smart contracts here, right? Smart contract auditor as well, so that before you actually launch your smart contract, you can go ahead and audit it to make sure there's no vulnerabilities in there, right? AI trading assistant that goes on chain and takes different data and helps you make sophisticated, or at least more sophisticated trades, right? Cross-chain swaps, they have a crypto guard, a AI Telegram chatbot. They have an AI agent as well. They touch that narrative, and they also have ChainGPT.fund, which is kind of like Pump.fund. So they do a lot of different things. I want to focus more so on the AI side of things, but they're also, the main reason why I used to use them was they're a launchpad, right? And if you don't know what a launchpad is, a launchpad pretty much gives you an opportunity to get into private crypto assets before they go public, which means before they get listed on DEXs and centralized exchanges, right? So you get them at a set price. You're allowed to put a set amount of money in depending on how much ChainGPT tokens that you hold. And I'll actually leave a video up on screen where I explain all of these things so you don't have to try and figure out these things for yourself. Now, looking at ChainGPT's real TVL and price, you can see here as well that they have around $84 million in market cap, right? And their TVL only says 38.3 thousand. I can tell you for an absolute fact that that is not the case. Now, as we go over to ChainGPT's website, you can see here that they have $8 million or just over $8 million staked and locked on the platform. And these are the actual ChainGPT tokens that are locked on the platform. And this is the actual TVL over here as well. And down here on the site, you can see the different types of pools that are available for you to stake. And depending on how long and how much, obviously, you stake in ChainGPT tokens determines the compounding interest you will gain from doing so. Now, considering that ChainGPT is only at 9 cents and the overall market cap is only just under $85 million in market cap, we actually hit a high of above $354 million. We have a long ways to go just to reach prior all-time highs. And in this cycle specifically, we saw ChainGPT launch in the summer of 2023. I roughly got in around August or so. So I've seen a nice return on my money, and I wish I was making videos back then. I always say, because I would have been able to give you guys this opportunity at the same time that I did, which is why I love a lot of these other altcoins, because I have been able to give you that opportunity. So subscribe to the channel. Like I said before, if I haven't said it already, subscribe to the channel, because you don't want to miss any of these altcoins that I'm going to be talking about from now on into the future as well. So the prior section of this video encapsulates all of AI, and that was obviously had to do with a lot of the different growth in the space of AI and people talking about it and the awareness of it and different things that are launching in the crypto sector, and not to mention all the money that's going to be coming into this space on a global scale over the next 5 to 10 years or so. Now, the second narrative and sector that I want to talk about in this video today, in no particular order, by the way, and I believe that these altcoins will make crypto millionaires this cycle, is none other than RWAs. Now, this is a site called rwa.xyz, and I talked about this in my last video, or I think it was 2 videos ago. You can go check out my channel for that as well, where I made the most important altcoin video I've ever made. They have a very good grip on data and simplicity in how they show the data is the best way I can say it. So if you look over here, I'm going to explain the entire site for you. And this is a perfect place that encompasses everything RWA. If you want to learn about anything RWA, where money's flowing, the different sectors that money is flowing into, the different altcoins that are benefiting the most from the RWA narrative, this is the site to do the bulk of that research, right? So first, starting off on the site, you can see total RWA on chain around 30 billion. This number continues to grow. If you've watched my prior videos, you know as well that the stablecoin value is growing as well. And these numbers are actually up from the last time we made the video and from the previous video that we made on rwa.xyz. You could see that over the course of the last 30 days, it's also been up as well. And the number only continues to grow. The total amount of asset holders as well in the RWA space is growing. And the total number of stablecoin holders is also growing rapidly as well. You can see the blip on the chart way back in 2020, 2021. Nobody really cared about RWAs. There were assets around in the space, but as you can see from all of the legislation that got passed recently and all the legislation that's going to come for crypto as a whole is going to play a very big part in the RWA space, and you're going to see a lot of institutions continue to join and jump in on crypto, especially when it comes to stablecoins and things of that nature. Now, mind you, anything that can be used in the real world is technically an RWA, which is why I love DeFi, because DeFi is bringing a lot of that old money and that traditional finance onto chain. That's why we call it DeFi, right? Decentralized finance. Anyways, when we get to the chart, the total assets, right? The total RWA value, it's currently growing. You can see up until this day that we're over at $42 billion, okay? And that is as of yesterday. Now, You can also see the different sectors that's broken into. You can see it on the chart here. So you got private credit, you have structured credit, you have U.S. Treasury debt, you got commodities, you also have stocks, of course, alternative funds, so on and so forth, right? And you can see a chart here that also breaks down the amount of value within these sectors within the crypto market, right? When you come here, you can see the amount of volume that they are getting per month. So you can see here around $145 billion, 146, 120 billion, 118, 114, and $54 billion. And this is over the course of the last few months of how much money has flowed, volume, sorry, I should say, has flowed into the space and how much attention we're getting. So I think this is going to continue. We obviously see bigger spikes when the broader crypto market is going up. So this number will continue to grow. And the fact that volumes are down, but when you really look at it, volume is relatively down to other months, but as a whole, you're still seeing billions of dollars flowing in and out of all of these real world asset altcoins every single month. So there is space for this market to continue to grow. And over here on the other side, you can see a lot of the companies and the networks that are housing a lot of the network volume at the moment and a lot of the value at the moment. Not to mention, you can see some of the platforms here as well that are going to have a lot of, or already do have a lot of RWA platforms. You can see Ondo. This is one of our favorite altcoins. I talked about this altcoin last year. That's something you should get into. I want to probably do a video on Centrifuge. We'll see. I want to do a little bit more research on Centrifuge. I've known about Centrifuge for a while now. Just never thought to make a video on it, but maybe that's something I can do in the coming weeks to months for sure. And then if you want to get a little bit deeper into the platform, mind you can also, let me scroll back up here. And if you come over here on the left-hand side as well, it'll also break it down through asset classes. So if you want something that pretty much more pertains to stable coins or US treasuries or bonds or private credit or commodities, you can find that all here as well. And I'm not going to go through the entire site because I need a dedicated video to do that. So like I've said for the past couple of videos, if you want me to do that, let me know and I can make a dedicated video on sites just like this. Leave a comment down below and let me know. Now, when you dig a little bit deeper into the networks on rwa.xyz, you can see it broken down per network. So you can actually see Ethereum over here. You can see Solana, Avalanche, BNB, Arbitrum, XRP, Base, and mind you, this is in no particular order. I know it says one and the way down as far as total RWA volume, but there's a key metric that I want to point out here that actually matters more to me specifically, which is if you come down here, you can see the stablecoin market cap. Now, the reason why for this particular time in the calendar year and going into the future, this is more important to me, is because we've seen a lot of regulation for stable coins specifically, which is where you're going to see a lot of this concentration from institutions at first in terms of RWA projects, right? You're going to see things like being able to trade stocks on Ondo and bringing a lot of real estate on chain and things like that a little bit more farther out into the future, possibly a lot more throughout until the next cycle. But we're seeing stable coins and the attention on stable coins at an all-time high right now, especially when it comes to crypto. These are the things I should say that the institutions and the government bodies want regulated first. And this is where you're going to see the bulk of the money flow into first. So when we tap the chart here, we're going to get a little clearer view on what is really important, right? So we can see that Ethereum holds a lot of stablecoin value. Tron, I've made videos on Tron before. I'm not going to go over Tron, but it's a little fraudulent for me. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to dive deep into Tron, but it's a little bit fraudulent. You see Solana, Arbitrum, BNB, and then Base, obviously over here, which is one of my favorite networks, pretty much my favorite network. I'll be honest about that. And they house a lot of stablecoin value as well. As far as total RWAs, they're a little bit farther down on the chain, but they do have a lot of assets growing on the chain, which is good. That means there's room for a lot of growth, right? And if we tap this button, they're fifth in that metric. So I'm sure that this overall value, once people start to come more on chain, will more than likely grow, which is a good thing. Now, just to put it into perspective for you, right? Stablecoins are on track for a $2 trillion market cap by 2028. That's only 3 years away. Want to call it maybe 2.5 years away. And we're currently, like I showed you before, only sitting at a couple $100 billion in market cap. So understanding this, you want to get ahead of this and find arbitrary ways or different ways to invest in stablecoins, because if you hold the actual stablecoin assets themselves, that's not going to do anything for you. But what you can do, and what I've been telling you on this channel a lot, is to find platforms that allow you to gain yield on stablecoins, because those platforms will then earn fees and earn revenue, and they will grow in price, right? So not only will you be able to house your own stablecoin assets on these platforms, like I've talked about before, I've talked about Spark, I've talked about Moonwell, I've talked about Morpho, I've talked about a bunch of these different platforms that I personally like, where you can go and put your assets on these platforms, or you can hold these assets in particular and also gain appreciation from the price of these assets going upward. Now, something very important to understand in terms of the addressable market. Remember, we talked about RWAs.xyz, the website, and we talked about US treasuries, we talked about private credit, right? We talked about stocks, the bond market, and so on and so forth. I want to give you a few metrics for you to understand how large an addressable market a lot of these altcoins are trying to capture, right? Mind you, a lot of them are only sitting at a couple $100 million in market cap, maybe a couple $1 billion in market cap. So the U.S. Treasury market has $28.6 trillion in outstanding securities as of Q1 2025, and is the deepest and most liquid government bond market globally, right? This is why a lot of companies want to make US-based companies, because they're going to be favored by this administration, and they're going to be able to tap into a $28.6 trillion market. Looking at the New York Stock Exchange, right, as well, 28.33 trillion, and that was of July of 2024. So in terms of something like Ondo, which is an RWA play, it's an altcoin in the space where they are tokenizing a lot of stocks and putting them on chain. Imagine being able to capture just 1% of a $28.33 trillion market. Now, I know this isn't necessarily direct because these assets are mainly derivatives, but at the same time, you're going to be having people that want to trade these assets 365, 24/7, every single day of the year, right? The stock market opens and closes every day, and it's closed on weekends. People are going to want to trade these assets on the weekends, after hours, before hours. So how are they going to be able to do that? You're going to be able to do that on chain. And this is why a lot of this stuff is going to move on chain, because it doesn't make sense to have opening and closing. No one does trading in person like that anymore. This is not like Wall Street in the 1970s or whatever, right? And you also have crypto, which trades 365 days out the year, 24/7 as well. So it only makes sense, not to mention it's a lot faster and cheaper. A lot of these transactions in the current stock exchange, so the NYSE, and all different stock exchanges around the world. Currently in Toronto, the stock exchange is called the TSX, the Toronto Stock Exchange. Just for your food for thought there. Don't know why I gave you that piece of information, but I guess it's good to have. There you go. When you put in different buys and sells, right? Initially, you get those shares immediately into your account, but on the back end, it takes 2 to 3 days for actual finality in the background. When you do everything on chain, it's instantaneous, right? That gets settled immediately within the second, and it's a lot cheaper. If you're anything like me and you've ever traded with a bank before, you know that there's fees involved with doing anything when it comes to direct investing, right? And investing on the stock market. When you come on chain, you know, depending on the chain you're on, the fees are fractions, and I mean multiple fractions of a penny. So this is why people are going to choose blockchain over using a lot of traditional avenues come the future, right? Now, I want to do a quick comparison like I told you before. So global private credit market, right, is large and rapidly growing, estimated to be worth over 3 trillion assets under management as of 2024. And if you look at the current private credit market on the crypto side, we're only sitting at $16.9 billion. So if you don't think that there's a lot of room to grow on the crypto side, especially considering that this market is $3 trillion and is still growing, you have another thing coming. That's all I'm gonna say. Now, the reason why I love DeFi, let's make a quick flip and switch over to DeFi, is because it's already, like I said, it's already a part of the RWA narrative. So it encompasses both narratives. This is why I love it. They have a ton of real world use cases, as I've shown you before in previous videos, right? And one of these use cases is DEXs, okay? So we're going to make something don't laugh or just excuse my diagram here, okay? Because I want to explain to you how a DEX works, all right? So you have the DEX down here, and this is the pool per se, right? So you have the DEX that encompasses all the assets that it has on its platform. You may have BTC in here, right? And you may have ETH in here, okay? Now, this is a quick example of how a DEX works if you were wondering, and it's going to help you understand why DEXs are important and will create crypto millionaires this cycle. And these types of altcoins are very important to be buying. I talk about DeFi all the time. DeFi is my number one conviction narrative in this particular cycle, okay? Because everybody needs DeFi to operate within crypto, okay? So you have the person over here, right? This is one guy over here. Just put a little smile on him. You got another guy over here, okay? Now there's something different about these two gentlemen. This guy has Ethereum over here, right? And this guy has BTC, but this guy over here wants ETH, and this guy over here wants BTC. So what do they both do, right? Both of these guys come over to particular DEX. Let's just say it's Aerodrome because I like Aerodrome, right? Now you have me down here, right? I'm the guy down here that's providing what we call liquidity, right? I am an LP. I'm a liquidity provider, and I'm providing both sides of the trade. So not only am I depositing, let's just say, in dollar term value, right? $1 worth of BTC. I'm also providing $1 worth of Ethereum onto the platform. Now, when these guys do their trade, so they're using my BTC and ETH, and all that's happening on the platform is doesn't matter how much BTC or how much ETH this guy wants. They are receiving BTC. Not really from this guy. They're receiving BTC technically from me. So I give him a BTC and I take his Ethereum, right? Just follow along. I know it's just follow along. And I give him my ETH and he deposits his BTC into the liquidity pool. And guess what happens to me? I then generate a fee, right? Whatever that fee is. Let's just say, to keep it simple, let's just say the fee is 10 cents. So I've gained 10 cents of fees, right? Of value, right? While these two were able to transact nice and happily and get their Ethereum, right? And he was able to get some BTC. So this is generally how a DEX works. This is the simplest way to explain it. DEXs are vital because if you want to do anything on chain, right? If you want to transact value back and forth to someone, you need a DEX. If you want to borrow and lend, right? You need a borrowing lending platform, which is also in the DeFi narrative. This is Aave. These are your Morphos and so on and so forth. If you want to yield farm, right, as well, this encompasses using a DEX of sorts. So when talking about DeFi is, these are things that people do in traditional finance all of the time. But we have the opportunity to do that over here. And if we didn't have DEXs and we didn't have lending and borrowing platforms, none of the financial side of crypto would even operate. How would you buy a particular asset that you wanted to hold or trade or gain yield on? There'd be no way for you to do it. And this is why I love DeFi, because it's one of the most crucial and pivotal parts of our ecosystem. And if I missed anything or you have any questions about this, just leave it in the comment section below. I'll explain it again too. I'll write out a comment. I don't care how long it takes. Ask your questions down below. Don't be shy to ask your questions down below. Now, I'd like to bring something to everyone's attention down here, okay? So consumer lending, right? Let's just highlight this here so you can see what I'm talking about. A massive $27 trillion market with diverse opportunities, including mortgages, credit cards, and buy now, pay later. These are all of the things that consumers, which is why it's called consumer lending, we love to do on a day-to-day to year-to-year basis. Every single house you see out here, not every single house, but majority of them have mortgages against them, right? This is how you're able to buy a house, right? Unless you're buying it outright and you're a big baller, more power to you, but most of us are getting mortgages, okay? Credit cards as well. Any adult that wants to own a cell phone or do literally anything on the planet, to do literally anything, has a credit card. Buy now, pay later. You might be in a little bit of a rut. These are your money marts and things like that, where you go and get loans and you pay it back later, right? This entire market is $27 trillion. Now, I want to show you how large the entire DeFi market is right now. We're sitting at $180 billion. So there's plenty of room to grow. And I'm actually going to type in my favorite, one of my favorite altcoins, right? Morpho sitting at $782 million in market cap. So the opportunity for growth is immense. And the leader in the lending and borrowing space, right? 4.7 trillion. This is Aave. And they have over $42 billion locked on the platform. There's tremendous arbitrage. This is an easy 10x as far as just arbitrage one for one, right? And if we go back to Morpho there, I know Morpho has plenty in TVL as well. I talk about these tokens all the time, but I want to actually show you because it's very important. $8.3 billion in TVL. It's only sitting at 780. That's an easy 12 to 13x right there as well. So thinking about where this market could go in the future, right? And this market is only growing. We only need, like, the US debt's never going to come down. It's only going to continue to grow. And the dollar's only going to continue to be inflated. So this number, this 27 trillion, is only going to continue to go up. And it's already a massive adjustable market. And this is one of the major reasons why I think that this sector can make crypto millionaires. Like these altcoins, these types of altcoins can make crypto millionaires. I'm not just blowing smoke. Like, I'm showing you the data. The data is right there for you, right? And to show you a little bit more on Aave, right? World Liberty 5. If you don't know what this is the Trump family's token. You can see here, right? Aave V3. They have $105 million locked in Aave's platform. So if that doesn't tell you something, right? Arguably, now, regardless of how you feel about politics, that's not what I'm here for, right? I'm here to tell you how to make money or show you how to make money. When looking at a family like that, and they have over $10 billion up here, right, worth of assets on the crypto side, and they've deposited. Now, it may only be 1% of their portfolio, which may be a small part of the portfolio. It doesn't matter. $105 million is not like that's not a little bit of money. Like, I don't know how else to say it. That's not a minute amount of money, right? So they believe in a platform like Aave. So if you don't think more money is going to flow into these type of platforms, you've lost your mind. Like you've lost it. And to give you an example, another metric and another stat, if we're thinking Aave and Morpho can compete with the big dogs, MasterCard's up at a $530 billion market cap, right? This is the value of MasterCard. And the other big dog is Visa, right? And a lot of crypto companies are partnered with both of these things. And the other big dog, Visa, is up at $650 billion. So this asset class is only going to grow. I don't know how else to prove it to you. Like, I'm trying to prove it to you, but maybe I need to throw another metric out at you. And in doing so, remember I mentioned something about a derivative market. So derivative markets, all that really means is a market that allows you to trade synthetic assets. So instead of going on the actual stock market and trading the actual Apple shares, you can go on a secondary market and trade a derivative of Apple shares, if that makes sense. So similar to how you can bet on whether Apple is going to hit $300 per share by December 31st, right? But you're buying a contract that details that assumption out, that prediction out on. It's the same thing because you're not actually buying the direct shares. You're buying an option against those shares, if that makes sense. Or for example, if you go on a platform like Polymarket, right? And you want to bet on the fact that BTC is going to be at $120,000 by September 30th, for example. Right? You're not actually going out and holding and buying BTC, right? And waiting for it to hit that price. You're pretty much just putting a bet on whether Bitcoin is going to get there or not. So this market is like pretty much, you could think of it like credit, because credit doesn't actually exist. This is money that is poof in thin air, right? This is not real cash, real dollars that you hold in your account. This is money that you're borrowing that the bank doesn't have, I don't have, the government doesn't actually have. It's made up funny money. So derivatives aren't the actual assets themselves. They are made up assets that trade with the real asset. So if Apple's price goes up and down, let's say it goes from $100 to $200 and then goes back down to $150, the derivative asset is going to go up to $200 and back down to $150. If that didn't make any sense, again, comment down below and ask me the questions, please. I'll answer all of your questions. Or you can simply go on like ChatGPT and it'll probably tell you exactly what a derivative asset is. But that is the best way that I can personally explain it for you. So anything futures related, options related, anything in that realm, those are all derivatives. And that's why you get this crazy 1 quadrillion number over here. So when you think about it like that, it's actually not that crazy to hit, right? So these 3 narratives are the ones that you should be paying the most attention to, and obviously go and do your own research on all of these 3 narratives, because these types of altcoins will definitely make crypto millionaires this cycle. That is understatement. That is a understatement. And going into the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see some serious money flow into the space. So the ones like us that were here early are going to be the ones that benefit, right? So like the video. Thank you for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.